Hey folks, Happy New Year and welcome back to the channel. So I've got a few new things this year. I've got a new camera and I've got a new microphone, and I'm going to be taking this YouTube thing pretty seriously, so look for good things to come. Today I've got a pretty interesting find. I've got this 1986 Aria Pro the Cat. If you've never heard of this thing, don't worry, you're not alone. I hadn't heard of it either until I found this thing on Facebook and I just had to have it. It's got a lot of issues, and we're going to be taking a look at several things, so let's get started today. Let's talk just for a second about some of the interesting features that this guitar has. It's got this bridge, this Goto style bridge or Floyd Rose style bridge. I've heard they're made by Goto, but it's a locking bridge that has some interesting locks on these strings, and I'll show you those in a still picture. And the strings pass through these tubes that lead under the fine tuners, and so the ball stays on the string. It's got a Floyd Rose style locking nut as well, except it has a regular string nut in front of that, and it's also got a sort of a string retainer bar or a tree kind of thing under that or behind that. So I'll show you still pictures of all that. And the tuners are odd to me. They're like a sealed tuner that has a cheaper style head or button on it. So anyway, that's the skinny on the hardware. Now, it's got two singles and a humbucker. The humbucker is splittable through this last pot, and it's definitely got a better switch than I'm used to seeing. It's got a lot more meat on that switch tip, so I'll have to unearth that and see what's under there. But yeah, I think next step is probably to start some disassembly, and we'll see what kind of components are inside, but I really want to get to that neck. Okay, to start disassembly, I'm going to remove the strings first. Now, I did go ahead and check neck relief, and it's close. So as long as the truss rod functions, I should be okay just to remove the neck and move on like it works. I'm just going to assume that it does. Let's undo these string locks here. I'm missing one of these string locks, so I'm going to have to replace the locks anyway. Okay, and then we'll just unwind these strings. Oh, before I go too far, let me put something under the back of this tremolo. A piece of cardboard ought to do it. I just want to try to keep the tremolo from scarring the body if it goes too deep. All right, now unwind. Okay, and there is next to zero chance of me using these strings again, but I'm still going to try to expose the locks here. They look like they open up on a little door or a hinge, so that's what I'm trying to see if they do. Well, I don't know if they come all the way out. Sure would like to get them out. Okay, yeah, they do. Boy, that is weird. I'll have to get a photo of that for you. You know, one of the things I've always liked about Floyd Rose tremolos, at least the ones that have the block that locks them at the back where you have to cut the ball off, is that you could reuse strings pretty easily if you wanted to. You know, they just lock in to a block area that gets locked down with a set screw, and this design would make reusing strings almost impossible. So I'm not a huge fan of it, but it is kind of unique. I do always try to save my old strings because you never know. Might just need one for a quick repair or as a temporary setup to you know, set up a neck or something like that. I've heard people even make jewelry out of the ball ends and stuff, so never know when I'll need them again. All right, well, that should take care of the strings. I'm going to flip this guitar over, and I'm going to check out the tremolo cavity here. I should mention this guitar is extremely heavy. I don't know why, but I haven't weighed it, but it just feels like a beast. Like this lower end is probably all plywood, and I guess we'll find out in this process, but that's my suspicion, is that we're looking at a laminate body at best. Okay, yeah, that is many layers of plywood, and somebody's been in here adjusting the tremolo so that it would dive up a little bit more. I'll take a picture of that for you so you'll see that. All right, well, I'm going to remove the trim springs and the tremolo just because I might do a little bit of polishing on this body. And it looks like the trim springs are not all original, and the one that's not original is on one of the sides, so I think I'm probably going to change the orientation on those at a minimum. Alright, now let's see if we can't get this tremolo out. Alright, easy enough. Okay, so now what? I'm conflicted. I think I might just go ahead and pull the neck, but I did think about potentially taking this pick guard off. If I took that off, I might have to deal with that bridge wire. I'm going to go ahead and take the pick guard off. I want to see what's under it, just in case some of that goo that was installed for the neck has made its way under the pick guard. Looks like the humbucker ring has to go too. Well, actually, I don't have to remove that, I don't think. Let's see here. Whoa, random guitar pick in the cavity. Interesting. All right. Well, the single coils look kind of like Fender single coils because they've got that double ceramic bar magnet, and other than the fact that they're flat poles all the way across, they're not staggered. I would have said they were. I think this humbucker is installed backwards. I think it should be flipped around. I'll test that out later. But yeah, this has got that Korean style switch that I'm used to seeing in late 80s, early 90s guitars. It's got a decent jack on it, but it's not a switchcraft. Decent tone pot, crappy volume pot. Alright, well, it's got some interesting things going on here. I think I'm gonna need to pull the bridge wire here. Just filthy. Okay, next step will be to do a tiny bit of cleanup, and then we're gonna take that neck off. I'm going to go ahead and remove these bridge posts because I know that that angle is not going to be correct once I fix that problem with the neck. So there's no point in leaving them in. Alright, well, I think it's ready to pull that neck and see what kind of badness we find under that. These are some extra long neck screws. I don't know if that's because of the extra width that's been added from that filler under the neck, or if it's just stock. It is a pretty thick body, so I'm gonna assume that they're stock, but gosh, I hope I don't have to replace these. Alright, let's pray that this neck is not glued to this body. Oh, thank God. Okay. That's gross, but I think I see what's going on there. That is bizarre. I'll take a photograph of that for you. Someone told me that that repair was done at a guitar shop, and they told me the name of the guitar shop that did it, and I just don't believe it. So I'm not going to mention them on camera because it's too embarrassing, but yeah, not something a professional would do. And thankfully it's not glued to the guitar, so I don't know what it is, some kind of snot or slime or something. And a piece of a dowel rod or chopstick or something ridiculous. All right, I'm going to try a little denatured alcohol to get this red color, this staining from that filler or whatever that stuff was, off of this neck and off the body. See if it's impervious to this or not. It's turning it colors, so maybe it'll come off. Yeah, it's going to take some friction, but it is coming off. I could use something a little more aggressive like acetone or paint thinner, but I'm worried that I would affect the finish of the neck a little bit more than this alcohol will. So I'm gonna just keep at it and keep up my pressure and see if I can get it off. I do have one other thought, and that is to try a little polishing compound and see if that takes it off. Okay, well that helped a great deal, but I don't think I'm ever going to get that staining completely off the neck. I don't know about this body though. I really don't want that staining there, so I may spend a little more time here. That's coming just about as clean as I could ask for. Purple. Boy, there are some really bad repairs been made to this guitar. I'm just looking at how somebody doweled the holes here for the pick guard, and that was very haphazardly done and not glued, so yuck. Alright, well, the deal with this neck is it was shimmed to kick the back of it up, give it a closer, like a more straight angle to the body. I'm gonna have to do a lot of test fitting with this neck, see if I can figure out a way to make it work. Maybe adjust the bridge or something, but make it work without that shim. But I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall it so I have a place to start from. So I think that part of the problem with this neck before may have been that the screws bite into the body as much as they bite into the neck. So I may end up pulling these out, re-drilling the body holes so that they don't bite at all. But right now I've got everything flat, so I think that's going to allow me to see if this is going to work. I need a straight edge. Let's see here. Alright, let's reinstall this bridge all bottomed out. Let's see here. I don't see why this wouldn't work. Right now the plane of the neck is below the saddle and the bridge, which is what I want. And I think, and these bridge posts are bottomed out, so I don't see why I couldn't just raise them up maybe a tenth and get them to where I need them to be. Boy, somebody has been doing some serious filing on these upper frets too. I wonder if they're okay. Yeah, the neck's pretty flat. I'm gonna chalk that up to some rising tongue or something like that somebody was trying to correct, but it's left them really low. But there is a little bit of neck relief, so I'm not sure if I should re-crown those. I don't know if I can. There's not a lot of space left on them. Well, I can't just leave it alone, so I'm gonna at least try it. Well, unfortunately, there's just not a lot of meat left on those frets, and I'm not able to get much of a crown on it at all. It just kind of sucks, to be honest, but I'm going to just go ahead and clean that off and see how bad the fret problem is with strings on it. I guess that's about all I can do. I don't have another fret file. I need to get one. I've seen those triangular fret files with the safe ends or safe edges, so I'm probably going to go with one of those next. But this dagger that I've got, this Fret Guru dagger, has been working pretty well for me, but lately I've noticed that it's started to dull a little bit or clog up with metal in between the grooves of the file, and it's very difficult to get out. Well, let's try this with the E string. Oh yeah, I gotta put those springs back in. Well, even where I'm at, I don't think that the problem is going to get any worse from here. And I'm at 4/64ths, so I don't see the issue with the strings. So I'm just going to go with this setup. I don't know why I wouldn't. It's going to need some new strings though, so that's my next step, is to get a new set of strings put on this baby. Well, change of plans. I started to do some restringing, and I realized that the issue with this nut that happens to be missing the center lock is that the center screw is actually stripped out for the lock, and the Allen screw that goes into it. I don't think I can repair that. I looked at some helicoils that I've got on hand, and with the shallowness of that nut, and I'll show you the way the truss rod comes up and invades the center space of that nut. I don't think I'm going to be able to get a helicoil in there because it's so shallow. Not only that, but the helicoil, if I had to re-drill that hole any bigger, it's going to hit the path of the strings as they go through this thing, so it's really not ideal. Long story short, I started looking online and I found a nut on Amazon. I also found it on eBay, but it's an adjustable nut that will go in the place of this. This is not exactly like a Floyd Rose nut because it's way flatter. It does not have the angle of the break over the nut that the Floyd Rose nut has. The Floyd Rose has a much steeper angle. And I just don't think that's gonna work. I looked, and the standard Floyd Rose nut would sit in this spot, but if I had to grind out a round sort of arch to go over this truss rod nut, that standard Floyd Rose nut would have a problem, because the back edge of the Floyd Rose nut, because of the angle over this nut, does not have a lot of space. I'm gonna have to come up with a different option, and like I said, I've ordered that one from Amazon. It'll be here next week, and at the time I'm filming this, that's gonna make this basically 2 episodes. So we'll end the episode here. When I come back, and I hope you all stick with me, but when I come back, I'll try to install that new nut, and I will restring the guitar. We'll check out these bottom frets, make sure there's no issues there. We'll set up the Floyd, check out the electronics, and there's a lot of things that we can do, but you know, it's gonna have to be episode 2. So anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. I love it when you guys like and comment on my videos, and I appreciate all the subscriptions, and we'll see you guys next time.